Hey everyone, welcome to the show. So, by now, I'm sure you guys have all heard 26-year-old Luigi Mangione has been arrested and charged with murder in the death of the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. So, we're learning more about Mangione, what his motivation may have been, his mental state in the year leading up to this alleged crime. Mangione apparently comes from a very wealthy and prominent family based in Maryland. By all accounts, he is well educated, he's highly intelligent, he had everything going for him, large inheritance coming in his future. But in 2023, apparently Mangione just fell off the grid. He just fell off everyone's radar. According to friends and family, he stopped posting online for about 9 months. They say he went, quote, radio silent. A friend even reached out to him, concerned that he hadn't responded about the friend's wedding. So the friend, had invited him and said, hey, haven't heard back from you, worried about you. The mom of the groom reached out to him as well on social media. Well, in January of this year, Mangione reemerged. He gets back online. He starts posting reviews. He posted a review for Tim Urban's book called What's Our Problem? A self-help book for societies. He posted a review on Ted Kaczynski's book, the Unabomber. So seems a little strange, but that was his reading diet. Also, he wasn't communicating still with his friends and family. So they still, even though he was posting online, they were still trying to track him down. He had just checked out on them. So in the days and weeks before Thompson's murder, Mangione got several messages that people were sending them on Twitter showing concern for his well-being. So for example, on October 30th, one of his friends tagged him and posted, quote, "Hey, are you okay? Nobody has heard from you in months, and apparently your family is looking for you." And then on November 25th, like about 2 weeks before this murder, someone else tagged Mangione and wrote, quote, "Thinking of you and prayers every day in your name. Know you are missed and loved." And it's being reported that Mangione suffered a back injury that necessitated a very intense surgery called a sacral spinal fusion. So the Daily Beast reported, quote, "Those close to him said he dealt with debilitating back pain. It required surgery that one friend described as heinous because of the giant screws it required." And the surgery was performed earlier this year in 2024. But a former roommate told the Daily Beast that Mangione had been in pain for years. They said that he was even bedridden for a week after something as simple as a surfing lesson. And, anybody who's had chronic back pain knows it can drive you to do insane things. I mean, and who knows what kind of medication he was on. So this could be, I'm sure his family can afford good attorneys. I'm sure that's something that they're going to look into, as a response to this, as a defense. But yeah, I mean, it can be debilitating. It can just drive you. I know, there are cases of people committing suicide because they can't deal with the chronic pain and feeling like it's never going to end. So we'll see what comes of this, but I thought that was very interesting. And then this seems to be a focus for Mangione. Not only did he review and read some books about chronic back pain and dealing with back pain, but it also became kind of his identity because his cover photo on Twitter was of x-rays showing supposedly his own back, like the screws in his back. And when the police arrested Mangione, they found a manifesto in his backpack. It hasn't fully come out yet, but there were a couple of excerpts that people have gotten that different news outlets have received. So it supposedly said, quote, "These parasites had it coming," and quote, "I do apologize for any strife and trauma, but it had to be done." So here's where things stand. Mangione is in prison. It's unlikely he's going to be able to secure bail in this type of case. And elites still don't get it. They still don't understand why the general public isn't grieving the loss of Brian Thompson. Case in point, Piers Morgan. So Piers Morgan became irate. He had a, kind of a meltdown after reporter Taylor Lorenz, who was a guest on his show, she said, quote, "I do believe in the sanctity of life. I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately." So he cut her off. He was like, "What do you mean you feel joy, blah, blah, blah." And then he played the video of the shooting for his audience. And so Lorenz clarified that, well, maybe joy wasn't the right word. Maybe empathy was more appropriate. But he had no idea what she was talking about. Like, he's just clueless. So they had this contentious back and forth. And then Morgan, who is a total elitist, he tries to sell his audience on the idea that, oh, I know exactly how the American medical system, the insurance system works. I've used it. I've used this medical system myself. Really? Really? When you are as filthy rich as Piers Morgan, you don't have a freaking clue about what the average American goes through to get care in this country. And that's if they have health care. That's if they have health insurance. People are dying left and right in this country because they don't have health insurance. And I'm sure that's going to be a talking point. Oh, this kid was wealthy. He, came from a prominent family. He, what could he have had to worry about? Well, I would argue, he actually seemed to care about other people and what they were going through, or who knows what, United, if that was his insurance carrier, who knows what they put him through or what they denied or, what they forced on him instead of something else that he wanted or needed. I mean, the facts will come out, but what's very clear is that many Americans are pissed off. Many Americans are not in alignment with Piers and his wealthy ilk. In fact, the McDonald's where Mangione was ultimately arrested, they just received a bunch of bad reviews online because it's been reported that one of their workers turned him in. Now, I've since heard that no, it was somebody else. It was an elderly person who was there eating at McDonald's themselves, and they turned. I don't know which is the case. Again, we'll find out all the facts as they come out. But people do not see this in the black and white way that Piers Morgan does and as other people do, who have never suffered, who have never gone a day without insurance because they couldn't afford it, who have never been turned down and panicked because they have pre-existing conditions, which was the case before Obamacare, before the Affordable Care Act. He has no clue. I mean, Piers Morgan doesn't even need insurance. He can just pay cash for whatever he has that goes wrong, I'm sure, based on what we know that these people make for doing nothing but sitting there as blowhards. And he tries to position himself as this everyman. Oh, I totally get why people supported Donald Trump in this election and blah, blah, blah. And, people are hurting. He doesn't have a freaking clue. Not a clue. And people like him don't have a clue. So, again, you don't have to condone violence. You don't have to condone murder, but people certainly understand it. People certainly understand the urge and what would drive some people to that point. So again, we will find out the facts. We'll see, where this all goes, but yeah, this is just, I mean, it really is a sign of the times, a sign that things have gone too far in this country, that the elitists, that the wealthy, the well-connected are just absolutely taking everyone's lunch, literally. When you have Americans who can't afford to go to the doctor because either they have health insurance and they can't afford the copays, they can't afford the deductibles that come along with it, which is bullshit when you're paying as much as we do for the premiums every month, that you then have to meet copays and deductibles, right? And then if you don't have health insurance, you're going to pay even more. You're going to pay out of pocket. There's no, contract with the insurance companies. And a lot of people don't even realize that, yes, you can call your provider, you can call the doctor, you can call the hospital and say, look, I am out of network or I am uninsured. Can you extend a contracted rate to me? That's something that I also did in, previous life when I worked for a managed care company, negotiating claims that came in where people's out of pocket was just going to be exorbitant. So, just to give you guys an idea, there was one patient who every month had a new claim coming in, and for some reason, this person was out of network. They were being treated for cancer. I believe it was leukemia. Their monthly bill that we were given in this department to negotiate down was $100,000. And this was a long time ago. This was many, many years ago. So imagine, today that would be 200, 300,000. People literally, I think it's like 40% of all bankruptcies in this country are due to medical debt. Think about that. And yet you have some asshole wealthy prick the other day who went and bought the most ridiculous thing. I don't know if you guys saw this, literally paid something like $6.5 million for a banana that was stuck on the wall. This was supposed to be art. Paid like $6.5 million for a freaking banana stuck to the wall, and he ate it. They're rubbing it in our, in our faces. They're telling us in every way, shape, or form, I am wealthy, you're not, I don't give a damn about you. I don't care to help people who don't have anything. I don't care what happens to them. And I'm just going to flaunt my wealth. I'm literally going to eat it. And, $6.5 million. Think of how many people he could have fed with that. And he bought one banana. That is how sick our society is. So I don't want to hear a damn word out of the likes of Piers Morgan, who has never probably suffered a day in his life, has never struggled, has never known what it's like to not know how you're going to pay your bills the next month. Unless Piers Morgan has lived through that, unless he has watched one of his loved ones die because they didn't get the necessary care that they needed, then he has no clue. I watched a doctor completely shut off to my mother when she knew that my mother was dying, when her cancer had gone so far, after they poisoned her repeatedly, and I couldn't talk my mother out of it. And the doctor would not even give her pain medication. She had a massive tumor that was wrapped around her intestines to the point that she couldn't go to the bathroom. She had a colostomy bag that I was changing out when I took care of her in her final 6 weeks. And the doctor would not order pain medication for her because she was no longer her patient, because she was no longer going to be treating her for cancer. In other words, because she was no longer going to get that nice, fat, multi-$1,000 kickback that they get on every round of chemo that people take. So she didn't have the time of day for her anymore. That's what American healthcare is like. And everybody else in other countries going, oh, you don't even know. You have no idea what it's like. We have universal health care. It's not all it's cracked up to be. I don't want to hear a word. I don't want to hear a freaking word from any of you. I have, as I've mentioned before, extended family in Japan. And guess what? They kept the grandfather in the hospital for, I believe it was over 2 years, because he was elderly. He couldn't take care of himself, and his wife was elderly and she couldn't take care of him. Cost the family not one dime. They took wonderful, excellent care of him for years. Here in America, you have major surgery, they're trying to kick you out the very next day because of the bills. So I don't want to hear it from anybody who has the great fortune of living in a country where you get your health care taken care of. You pay a little bit more in taxes and you pay nothing out of pocket. Here in America, we pay a ton of taxes and then we pay through the nose for everything that we get in the way of health care, which is still a joke. So anyway, guys, another rant. Apologize for anybody who's sick of hearing it, but yeah, it's gross. Our system is gross, disgusting, unconscionable. All right, I will let you know when I hear more. Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Please like, please share, and subscribe. Please donate if you possibly can. Love you all. Take care. Talk with you soon.